Hey friends, so today I'll be walking you through the watercolor cards tutorial. First up, you'll be needing some watercolor paper, and then you'll be using a permanent black marker, a water brush pen. This one has a reservoir, which makes it really easy to use, and it's great for traveling, but you can also use just a regular paintbrush and a cup of water. This is a pan set that I have of watercolor paints from Michaels. It's fairly cheap, and it's great for just like quick projects. And of course, there was a pair of scissors and some paper towels, a envelope and card. And I think that was everything that was shown. If anything, I will include everything in the description box down below. There will be in the full list. So don't worry if you miss anything. I will include links for everything and you won't have to write it down. So what I did here is that I divvied up the page into 4 quadrants. And in the first quadrant, I will be drawing out love with some washi tape. So the idea is that you're going to lay down the washi tape with the designs that you like, and then you're going to watercolor over them. So the idea is that you're going to be using the washi tape as a mask. So masking is basically wherever you put the washi tape down is where the watercolor won't seep in. So it creates like a really cool effect. So you have like watercolors all around the page except for the places where you put the washi tape down. I'm sure you've seen this effect in other places, and it'll definitely make sense when the project is dried up and done towards the end, so just stick with it. So we'll start here with just sort of painting stuff down, just putting some paint down. The idea is really to just kind of have fun with it and not think about it too much. I did create like a palette, so my palette was purples, pinks, and blues. I put the piece of paper towel behind the canvas just so that I could protect the piece of paper behind it, but then towards the end I think I forget to use the paper towel and the piece of paper behind it gets dirty anyway, so which is fine. I mean, it was an old piece of cardstock, but if you're painting on a table or whatever, like a surface that you actually care about, make sure to cover your space and maybe use several pieces of paper towels or like a longer piece that's not broken up, so that way you can protect your space. So back to this painting. I would love it if you brought out your paint and painted along with me. It's a really fun process. There's not really too much to it. Like, you just kind of want to balance the colors so that way you don't have giant blobs of one color and then not enough of another color. Or if you do want to use large blobs, that's fine, but sort of just kind of keep like a open, just like think about like what you're like looking at, and then just sort of seeing that the colors are a little bit more balanced, so that way it's not like super dark in one spot and then like really bright in another. Like, I guess you kind of want to make sure that you like space out your colors. I mean, obviously this is completely up to you, and it's just like a fun activity. Like, I highly recommend just listening to some music or a good podcast. Yeah, I mean, I would love to know, like, what do you listen to when you're crafting or when you're painting? Please leave that in the comments down below because I would love to know. My favorites are some like really good like craft podcasts, of course, but then I also like comedy, so like I'll listen to the Conan O'Brien podcast, and um, sometimes you don't want to be painting while you're cracking up, but it definitely makes it for a more memorable experience. Um, I actually did write a blog post in the Craftic blog if you want to check that out. I listed my top 9 creative and crafty podcasts that I like to listen to. And yeah, I would just love to know like what you listen to, because I'm always looking for new shows, and I know you guys are very creative, so I would love to know like what you find inspiring. And as you can see here, so I'm already starting to fill up the entire space. As you may have noticed, this is very, very sped up. So the piece of paper was about 11 by 8, and it took me a while to paint this. Yeah, it was probably a larger piece than I would have liked for a camera. But like once you have this big piece of paper painted, like it's great because then you can kind of break it up into lots of little pieces, so you can create 4 cards out of this, or even more, depending on the card that you're going to be gluing it on. Or, you know, like you could use them for really tiny pieces for your scrapbooking. There's so many possibilities. So in this section, I'm kind of demonstrating how you can reactivate watercolors. So the beauty of watercolors is that they're very flexible. So like even if you've completely stopped painting and let it dry completely, you can come back another day and then just add some water and reactivate the paints. Like you can't do this with acrylics, or I think you can do this with oil paints, but not an oil painter, so don't take my word for it. But I definitely know that you can't do that with acrylics. But watercolors are great because like you can just sort of add some water, and as you can see, the paints just sort of start reactivating, and you can start mixing things and adding new layers if you'd like. So that is really great. Yeah, so I'm just sort of like messing around because I didn't like quite well like how certain colors mixed, or there wasn't enough of just kind of like a spread. And I think I'm just sort of gesturing wildly here of like that I really like to make sure that I have a balance of all the colors, so you can see there are splotches of pinks and things. And oh yeah, so here I am showing you an older piece that I did. This is from probably over a year ago, and I also did the word love apparently, so I guess that's kind of my go-to word for these kinds of projects. And fun fact about this piece is that it's actually just a regular piece of white construction paper. So you don't even have to use like a fancy watercolor sheet. Like even if you just use regular construction paper, it'll do. Like, I mean, sure, it'll crinkle up a little, but I remember putting this sheet under some textbooks overnight, and or maybe even several nights. I don't remember exactly, but it does flatten out, and you can use it. And honestly, like it looks really good. Like you would not know that this was not this was just like regular construction paper. So yeah, don't be afraid to use the materials you have and see if you can use them in unexpected ways. So the reason that I like using a permanent marker, and I'm showing that this marker in particular, it's a Tombow mono drawing pen, or no wait, I forgot, it's a mono permanent pen. So it has 2 tips, and one tip is a lot thinner and the other one's a lot thicker, as most pens have. So at first I was using the thin side, but it wasn't quite showing up as well. So I decided to use the thicker line. And as you can see, the line really helps the letters pop. So you can see the left letters versus the right side letters, like they're just so much more prominent and they just have more contrast. So yeah, I mean, you can play around with this a lot, like right here. Like this, I'm just doing an outline, but if you wanted, you could do a thicker outline. You could mess around with different colors so you can create like a fun effect. You could do drop shadows with, you know, just like more stylistic versions of this. So yeah, you could. There's so many things you could do with this, but that's just like the one version. And so right now I'm just going to start cutting up the paper. So they're gonna. So I also did this in 4 quadrants, but these 4 quadrants I actually did 4 separate color palettes. So you've got your, you know, like your yellows and oranges and your blues and the greens, and the last one is more pinks and purples. And I think I had used, so I think originally I had painted this piece of paper for a larger envelope that I'd been working with, but yeah, which is unfortunate because this card was a lot smaller. But you know, they're like the scraps are never to be thrown out, as we all know as crafters. So you can always reuse those pieces of paper in another project, like for another scrapbooking project. And I just kind of started eyeballing it and just kind of cutting it down to size so that it would fit on the card. And it does work. Like I really like it. I think if I had to do it again, I would probably measure it a little better. Um, and I'm actually here using the washi tape that I use for the masking as decorative. So I would suggest, instead of just using washi tape, that you would use like some sort of tape runner or glue stick underneath, so that way the watercolor sheet would really adhere to your card. And then the the washi tape can be used as more of a decorative piece, which is just really nice. I like just the way the washi tape looks on things. And here I'm also talking very quickly about how you can cut up the other sheets into just other pieces that you could use and draw on. And this is the fun part. So this is, as we all like to call it, like peel porn, which is basically just peeling off the washi tape. And you can see here how the letters came out. And I think, yeah, like around the V and the E on the love part, like it just, I think the paint hadn't dried fully, which is unfortunate. I really thought that that section would have dried faster, but apparently not. Um, but you know, you don't have to worry about it because if you use a black marker, I mean, you could even use a thicker black marker to really cover up your mistakes. You won't even be able to tell that there was a mistake there. Like, you'd have to look very, very closely, and honestly, it's not that big of a deal. um, and also, like I was going to mention, is that if you'd like, you can, you know, measure these things better and just sort of see, like, be a bit more precise. But this is just a fun project. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make these cards, and if you do, please tag me on Instagram at crafticland. And thank you so much for watching. Please like if you like this video, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.